Hi everyone. If you just saw what happened, yeah, I got disconnected and the video or our stream just ended on us, and this is going to be a part two. So if you guys would like to continue your takes, go ahead.
I'd just like to say before I go back to my take, I think me and Weston improvised quite well there. Totally didn't get nervous or anything. But anyway, right. So, um, Ed Donatel. I think if we look at both sides of the issue, if we keep Ed Donatel, we really need to, address the player positions. I think we really need to look at getting proper, outside linebackers, because we cannot keep using Daniil Hunter or Zadarius Smith, coming looking like they're about to bring pressure and then drop back into coverage, because it doesn't work. And I think we need, but that's just the one side. The other side, we've spoken about many a time, but to reiterate the point, we really need a new scheme, because the bend and break we were bending and breaking. We weren't bending and not breaking. We were bending and breaking. Like, I don't really know where to go with this analogy, but then, yeah. I think this prevent scheme was doing nothing but prevent us from making plays on defense. It was allowing everyone else to just bully us like we were, teenagers, like we were not professional footballers. It was painful to watch, and it does really back up my stats that I mentioned on the pregame show about Kirk Cousins, in how, statistically he's had terrible defenses for the last 3 seasons, and somehow fighting to get a relatively good offense. And I think you can't expect a team to win after giving up how much yardage and how many points we did, and how little time we allowed the offense to work. But we live and we learn, and I think next season looks bright. But yeah, that's all I have to say about my take.
All right. So is there any more Vikings takes for the rest of the video? Are you guys good?
So like I said before, got cut off. I actually got some random statistics regarding the Giants and Vikings. I mean, it might interest you guys. Something you might haven't heard. So first one I'm gonna go over. So the Giants, with this win, snapped a 4-game skid against the Minnesota Vikings, because the previous 4, you had the 2015 Sunday night football matchup when it was Bridgewater versus Manning, the 2016 Monday Night Football game where it was Bradford versus Manning. You had the 2019 matchup, which was Daniel Jones' second start in his entire career versus Kirk Cousins. And of course, the 2022 Christmas Eve game where Greg Joseph kicked a literal kick from God himself. But too bad that could not come in this one. Of course, first Giants playoff win since 2011, back when they won the Super Bowl and upset the New England Patriots for the second time in history. The Vikings are now officially the only team in the Super Bowl era to complete at least 80% of their passes with no turnovers or sacks allowed in a game and lose. Prior to this, teams who had these statistics were 47-0. Now, thanks to this franchise, they're 47-1. I love making history, man. And, I mean, Giants, y'all have a lot to overcome. The Cousins curse. No team has lost to Kirk Cousins and has played in the Super Bowl the same season. So far, 10 teams are down, and we got 2 teams to go, which is the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. I'm sorry, DeMar. I know you're doing well, but because the Cousins curse, it's all for nothing, man. Well, I see he's doing well, so it's great. At least, that's a really big W. But yeah, those were some random statistics. Oh, and I guess now the Vikings now have the most playoff losses out of any franchise in the NFL, which it does sound bad, but hey, at least they can make the playoffs, unlike Detroit, the little stepchild that we usually kick down in the basement, unlike franchises like Cleveland, unlike Jacksonville, Carolina. So it doesn't hurt as much, but still, people are going to look at me and go, hey, look, most playoff losses. It's just like, man, it is what it is. I'm just going to stick with this team royally like I have been since 2007 and just move on from it.
Okay, so that's it for the that's it for like the random stats and stuff. And just going on to like that Kirk Cousins like curse one. So I mean, technically, hey, maybe the Giants broke the curse, and well, you never know, but we'll see. So now
they broke one curse already. They broke the boat photo curse.
Yeah, exactly. They broke this. You never know. Now,
yeah, true.
Just going on to the Giants here, I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't want to because I'm obviously going to do a Giants versus Eagles video. So I'm not going to talk about it too much. But if you're the Giants, like I said before, you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. All the pressure is on the team that was in first place, went 14-3, and beat you twice. And it's hard for a team to, beat your division rival 3 times in the playoffs. It's hard to do that. And all I'm gonna say is, if the Giants beat the Eagles, I know I talked some smack I wasn't talking smack to you guys necessarily. I was talking more smack to Roderick because Roderick just talks and talks because literally I have known Roderick since probably, let's say it's 2023 now, so probably like 7 or maybe 6 years I've known Roderick. And ever since then, the Giants, the boat curse, blah, 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 we haven't made the playoffs. So out of all the times I've known him, we have not made the playoffs. We've been a dumpster fire organization. And also, before I get in, I'm going to mention Dave Gettleman here, but I'm going to have to give him some props. I've been killing the guy, but I'm going to give him props. Hear me out in the way of his drafting. When you look at the guys that have stepped up, he did draft Saquon, Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, a lot of his first round picks besides DeAndre Baker, the corner back that he drafted, have been really good. So I just wanted to bring that up. He wasn't so bad. He did make very, very stupid free agent signings. But in terms of first round drafting, I think there was a lot of hits. There wasn't a lot of misses. So I will give him that. I will give him his praise there. Now, but anyways, just going back onto the main subject here, the Giants, like I said before, you have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose. And don't let us beat the Eagles. Because if we beat the Eagles, oh boy. But the 49ers, that'll be tough. I'm not looking ahead, but I'm just saying. You never. This is the NFL. You never know. And just bringing it up, like I said last year, both first seeds lost. Both of them lost. In my opinion, that first seed, if we see it again, you can, you may deem it overrated because you're losing that week. And the Giants, we have momentum. The Eagles, on the other hand, they barely beat our third strings, and then you have a week off. So, that time in between, it's kind of we saw it with the Packers last year. They had that time off, and they were very flat. And their weather too, against a warm weather team in San Francisco in the snow, and they still lost to Jimmy G. And then when you look at the Titans too, they had that week off, lost to the Bengals. So I'm just saying, you never know. This week off, it's going to show this year. If both first seeds lose, or if one of them, even if the Giants do end up beating the Eagles, you can say it's all about momentum, and that's what the Giants have right now. The Eagles don't have a lot of momentum right now. I'm sorry, but they don't. Sure, they beat our third string quarterback barely. They could barely beat Davis Webb, who has been on practice. He was on the practice squad the whole year. Davis Webb? Are you serious? This team and their defense has not been that good as of late. The Eagles, when we saw what they did against the Saints too, that was when I was kind of uh-oh. I was are they slipping up here? You started to see some cracks, and you don't know how Jalen Hurts is going to play too. That guy, he can still be hurt, and no pun intended, but literally, think of it this way: if he did not play against us in a game that they needed, he would have not have played for a month plus. And that's a very long layoff for a QB, especially going into the playoffs. It's all about momentum. So let me just get your guys' on that.
So I'll go first. Yeah, so I did write, a few keynotes on the New York Giants side of things, what I call this segment. So no matter what happens, even like if there's momentum or if there's no momentum, this was a confidence victory for the New York Giants. Like, this is how some Super Bowl dynasties like start. Like, one year where they get the pieces together, they don't have enough, but like a playoff win like this is literally going to spark momentum going into the offseason, pending if the Giants win the Super Bowl or not. Like, win or lose, like you said, nothing to lose, of course, but what you guys got today is that confidence boost that will ship you into the offseason to go, all right, we definitely have something rolling. If we just can get these pieces and these pieces, there will be more for the future, and there will be something for the fans to cheer about. And one thing, Daboll is the spark that this franchise indeed needed. Of course, like you said, so many years, yes, absolutely. The best thing to happen in New York since Biggie Smalls was alive, of course. But anyways, I digress. Like, the years of Joe Judge, the years of Pat Shurmur, the years of NASCAR pit crew guy, Ben McAdoo, and of course you had Eli Manning getting punished for absolutely no reason. Like, I'm not the biggest Eli guy in the world, but the struggles were not on Eli. And for him to get benched just because they were petty towards him, like, really? But I digress. The spark needed to fix this mess was definitely Daboll. Like, I know a lot of Giants fans, I don't know if you were one of them, but of course you had the whole Brian Flores thing that was kind of a huge deal in the NFL. And fans were a little upset because Daboll was hired over him. But I was like, hold on, let this man cook. And guess what? He brought the whole homemade fried chicken recipe, and he's letting these fans eat good. Like, they're eating good. You know what I mean? And, of course, free large sodas. We're going to up to large. Gelman's provide medium. Daboll provides large. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the team, pending if draft and free agent picks go correctly, oh, my. New York, you might be the best team in the NFC East for years to come if you play your pieces correctly, okay? And I did put possible upset in Philly, like you mentioned. Like, I'm not going to lie, I had no idea who Davis Webb was until the Red Zone channel said, and here comes Davis Webb. I'm like, who is this guy? Scott, I need to know who this guy is. But yes, Philly, like, yes, they are a fantastic team. They have the talent, and they're loaded with talent. But it's just they're inconsistent. Like, are we going to get the Philly team that blows out Minnesota? Are we going to get the Philly team that blows out Tennessee? Or are we going to get the one that barely scrapes the win versus Jeff Saturday? The one that commits 4+ turnovers against the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football? So, yeah, that's what I got on the New York side of things on this segment. So, y'all got something rolling, and I hope to God, because I have a soft spot for the Giants, okay? Well, you guys warmed my heart in 2007 and 2011, knocking out the Green Bay Packers out of postseason contention. So y'all got a special place in my heart. So I hope nothing for the best for this franchise.
Thank you. So Sam, before I let you go into things here, so basically the whole entire thing, like the only thing I'm gonna like disagree with per se is about the whole NFC East thing, because there's just a really, really weird stat. There has not been a repeat winner in our division since the Eagles in 2003 and then in 2004. Mm-hmm. It's just really weird with our division. Literally, like, the Eagles won it like this year. Can the Giants win it next year? Probably. So, like, the Eagles won it this year. I'll tell you this: they're not winning it next year, because that's just how it goes. It will probably be either us or the Cowboys. The Cowboys, I'm not really sure. Dak's regression. We'll see. But I think if we do address that wide receiver spot, I think, and especially we'll see what happens at the end of the playoffs here. But let's say if you do beat Philadelphia, and then if you can, like, even if you lose, and then let's say you lose to San Francisco, who cares? You're bringing that into next year. You have that over them now. That playoff win against the division rival, that is big. That is big. Like let's say, like, if you guys stayed as like the second seed, and and the Packers got in. If you guys beat the Packers in the playoffs, like that, like, and you have that, and like you can just like you just have that, like, knowing like the year before, we beat you. You beat us in like meaningless game, but we beat you in a big spot. So that's just the momentum there. So Sam, go ahead.
Well, you kind of just touched on my first point. That I've wrote a few things down as Weston was speaking, but my main point is your wide receiver core. I mentioned it pre-game, and yeah, your wide receiver core, quite frankly, looked like it could have been us playing out there for wide. If we just gave you Justin Jefferson for the game, quite frankly, Isaiah Hodgkins. He had too much cockiness during the game. It annoyed me a bit how cocky he was being, considering how much your wide receiver core has sucked this year. I think whether you draft the wide receiver, go into the free agency, who knows? But that wide receiver core is really going to sort itself out because I said it pre-game. Daniel Jones is that guy, but just like I'm saying with Kirk Cousins, he can't do it all on his own. And I think, as Weston said, you sort out that wide receiver core. You can be a football dynasty for the next couple of years. And it comes on to my next point, Daniel Jones. We've all said that for the minute he is that guy, but you've got to think what do you do with Daniel Jones? Because as you said, you turned down his fifth year, and he's going to be asking for a lot of money. How much money are the Giants going to have? Thinking if you're turning into this football dynasty with you're going to be looking to sign some big players, big names. How's that going to affect your cap? And I appreciate Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, but do you want to go for will Daboll want to go for his guy and free up a bit of cap room and sign some big names at the risk of losing Daniel Jones? Is that something he's going to look at? Maybe, I don't know. But for the minute, I think, in my opinion, considering how he's played this season, I think it would be wise to extend Daniel Jones. But as I say, will Daboll want to go for his own guy and free up cap room and build a dynasty? It's just my opinion.
To interject here, I think Daniel Jones is his guy now, because also when you look at the QB market too, there is not a lot of upgrades over Daniel Jones that's going to be available. There's not a lot of upgrades. And then if you were going to be like, okay, let's go in a draft. Well, one, you can't really do that because there's going to be, teams ahead of you that already need a QB and that are in a better draft position. Mm-hmm. And you're gonna have to go through the whole entire process again. Like literally what the Giants just did for like all these years, like with DJ and stuff, you're going to have to go through that again with a young QB. Do you really want to go through that again? No, I think, and Daboll, the guy, he has been challenging Daniel Jones, a lot, especially in the offseason too, because he didn't know if he was the guy. He did challenge him, and Daniel Jones has like over, a lot of the QB battles that they had in preseason and stuff. They're like, Daboll, he saw some things that he liked. And then, he did yell at him the first game of the year. He yelled at him, but I think that helped. That was probably like the best thing that ever happened to him, because like Daniel Jones now is kind of scared to turn the ball over. He that's good. That is really good. So I think Daboll already has his guy, and there's not a lot of options. There's no significant upgrades available right now. And if you're going to draft a QB, it's kind of like it just doesn't really make much sense at this point. And also the Giants will have the third most cap space going into the next offseason. So I just wanted to bring all that up. So you can keep going.
Okay, awesome. See, I thought I'd pose that question to you because I know it's a debate that we're having in the group chat. People saying, "Oh, get rid of Kirk Cousins," and I guess it's kind of the same concept in the fact there's no better quarterback that you can get at the minute.
Like what, you're gonna get Derek Carr? Like, what do you like? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. It would be franchise suicide if we were to get rid of Kirk Cousins. And then, but yeah, that so on to my next point. Bringing in both teams, the Daboll and Kevin O'Connell hires have got to go down as some of the best hires in NFL history, in my opinion, because to turn around these two franchises, and I appreciate the Giants was a much harder job, but to turn around these two franchises in the style and the manner that they have done, I've got to give my hats off to both coaches. And I think, in my opinion, obviously you look at who else has been hired this year. They've all sucked, and I'm going to include Mike McDaniels in that as well, because I would just like to say, I've said it on the group chat, I think the way he has handled the Tua situation is disgusting. I think he should be fired just because of how he's treated to her. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think he's not a medical expert. We're not medical experts. I mean, I don't know if you two are. I'm not. But surely anybody with a brain cell would be able to deter that someone that's got 2 concussions in the space of 2 games should probably not be playing the rest of the season. And I think that we've got so lucky as both franchises that we've hired who we've hired, because I think the Vikings would be in a really bad position, and so would the Giants if we'd have gone with any other hire. And I mean, I can't remember who it was, but there was someone we were looking at. Actually, it was Nathaniel Hackett. We interviewed Nathaniel Hackett, didn't we, in the offseason? If we'd have got Nathaniel Hackett over Kevin O'Connell, Jesus Christ, we would not be in the playoffs. So I think we've got to, you know, just take a moment to appreciate both hires for how they've been for both franchises. And I think we're in really good hands as the Giants and the Vikings. And then I think, obviously, my final point before I think I'm finished with my Giants takes is that obviously a team's got to improve every off season. You can't just stay the same. You've got to improve. You've got to improve. It's a question for you, RJ. I personally don't know. I haven't really, you know, I've watched 2 Giants games this season, and that's been both because they played the Vikings. You need to improve year in, year out. Where would you say you need to improve defensively? Because obviously you can't just keep the same team every year. You've got to make improvements. Speak truthfully. Who do you think needs to go, and where do you need to improve?
Okay, so obviously you already know my opinion on the offense. It's receiver. Like, I think that's pretty clear cut. I would also like to see some better interior, some more guard on our offensive line too. Nick Gates, I do not like that guy. Me personally, I do not like Nick Gates. I know fans of other teams don't like him either. I don't like him. He is also Feliciano. Both of them, they're very undisciplined. I know I don't like saying this because I was always against this, but they're not part of like that giant way. They're not, because when you look at them, there's very stupid penalties from both of them over the years, and it is very frustrating. Nick Gates, he was literally benched for, you know, a 3rd string guard last year. Feliciano, he's just like, he's a head case. I'm sorry, but he's a head case. There's been multiple instances in this year where he has like basically cost us games because of his stupid penalties. We should have that tie against Washington. We should have beat them that game if it weren't for Feliciano basically, you know, taunting and blah, blah, blah. And he's not that good. I'm sorry, but I would like to see some better guards. And then also I think, Andrew Thomas, you know, 2nd team all pro, he's good there. Our other tackle, Evan Neal, who we did draft this year, I'm not going to like make any criticisms on him this year because we saw this with Andrew Thomas in his rookie year. He was not good at all. So I'm going to save my judgments, you know, there. So like basically it's just receiver on the offense and then maybe some better guards, but I don't, you know, you can maybe get that in the later rounds of the draft. Now on defense, okay. D-line is good. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You got Kayvon, you know, Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams. Okay, that's good. Now, I would like to see some better linebackers. I think this has been a big issue. The Giants' run defense. It is very frustrating. Like, I know you guys, you know, you didn't get the job done necessarily as much as you would have liked to on the ground, but like there's just multiple points during the season. I'm like, I just see teams like Washington who, you know, are ranked like towards the bottom of the league, you know, in terms of running the ball. Like they just like kind of ran all over us that first game, I noticed. And I was like, come on, you're like Antonio Gibson and the other running back, like these guys, you can't let that happen. And, you know, our linebackers are just almost non-existent all the time. And Azeez Ojulari, he's good. So like, I'll give him a pass. But there's like a lot of issues like with health and stuff with our linebackers. And it's just so frustrating to see. Like Azeez, he's always hurt. He got hurt again against you guys. Apparently he's fine, but I don't know that. It's like always he's just hurt. And so I would say middle linebacker is definitely one. Maybe if you can get an outside, but like I think maybe you don't have to get a starter that's, you know, like a big outside line, but like get somebody that's like, you know, some depth there because Azeez, he's very injury prone. Now, turning my attention to the secondary, Xavier McKinney, he's good. He's young. Not gonna, toy with that. Julian Love, I don't think he's, and there's so many other needs. I don't think you really need to upgrade him like right now. Like that would be like if you need like a finishing piece, and I don't think the Giants are quite there yet. So I'm going to leave him off. Now, I would also like to turn our attention to our cornerbacks. I don't think, me personally, Adoree Jackson has been solid, but I feel like the Giants are lacking a true number one cornerback. I think they are. I know like they handled Jefferson well, but like the Giants, we don't have that, Sauce Gardner. We don't have that, prime, really good Jalen Ramsey. We don't have that type of guy. And there's just like multiple instances when you have like guys like Fabian Moreau, just getting cooked by Terry McLaurin in two games a year. I don't like seeing that. So I would definitely say if I had to list our three main needs, wide receiver, give me another linebacker, and that true number one cornerback, because I feel like we're really lacking that. Because in terms of our defensive scheme, they can adjust like that way, but you always need that number one. You need that number one cornerback if you want to you want that lockdown guy to go up against a receiver like Jefferson, so you don't have to worry about playing this basically the whole game, which was good. They did that, but sometimes, like we saw in the first drive of the game for you guys, Kirk Cousins, he was cooking up that zone. I was like, what are we doing here? Like he was just going boom, boom, boom. But I'm like, what are we doing? So, like I said, if you have like a number one cornerback, you're not going to have to rely on that as much, and you can go more man-to-man situations, and that leaves Adoree Jackson as a cornerback number two, which I think is a better spot for him, because you can put him on. Let's say in your situation, I guess you can put him on. Who's your guy's number two receiver? Do you consider it Thielen still or KJ?
I'm going to go with KJ, honestly. KJ kind of took the big step compared to Thielen.
Okay, so yeah, you can put him on KJ Osborne, Adoree Jackson, and then you have that number one cornerback that is, focused in on Justin Jefferson, and so you don't have to play zone more. So yeah, I would definitely say wide receiver, another linebacker, and a corner.
So I was gonna say, to be fair, after KJ had that one touchdown catch, he was kind of non-existent throughout the rest of the game. The only guy that was really tearing you guys up was TJ Hawkinson. Yes, Thielen may have had a catch here or there. Yes, Jefferson got limited to 7 yards in the entire second half. But KJ wise, yeah, I had a KJ take on the last one, which after the touchdown, I was like, maybe this is where it kind of starts coming into place. It never did. After that catch, he was basically non-existent. So you shut down WR1 and WR2. So yeah, it's just covering like you said earlier, it's covering the tight ends that was really killing you guys. Hawkinson was slaughtering you all on Christmas Eve. He even mossed a couple defenders on Christmas Eve, and he was getting those chunk yardage plays when they needed it most. Especially on 4th and 1. I remember watching him on TV. I saw him open. I was like, this is a first down, and he was right there. Or was it Thielen? I don't know, but either or. Yeah, that's all I gotta say on that.
Yeah, and that just goes on to me saying the linebackers and stuff, because you're gonna probably need them to cover the tight ends in certain situations, and then and in terms of the run defense, sometimes I just see big holes made, and our linebackers aren't doing anything, and it's just very frustrating. Our middle linebackers are non-existent on the team. That I think that is a big issue for the Giants. That is. You really need to address that. But, you don't really see a lot of middle linebackers coming out of the draft now, and that are these can't miss. You don't see that. So you'll probably have to address that during free agency. But yeah, that is definitely my three main needs. But the main need, I think, is pretty obvious, and that is wide receiver, because you cannot go into next year with Isaiah Hodgins as your number one. And, just looking at Darius Slayton real quick, oh my gosh, you do not know how mad I was when he dropped that. Oh my gosh. I was so, because those type of plays are plays you lose the game on. And I've seen this too many times. I saw it with Evan Ingram, the past few years when he was here. And I saw it with Slayton multiple times. What was it, last season against Washington, second game of the year? He had a wide open touchdown on, either Sunday or Monday Night Football. Why don't touch him? Drops it. Like, it's just very frustrating to see. And then, you're paying Galladay all this money. I'm not even going to get into the guy, but I think I'm going to give him his props in. He hasn't, caused a ruckus when, earlier in the season, he kind of was. He was a little frustrated, but I think he's like, kind of accepted the role that he's had, and he came in, made a nice block. He contributed like a tiny bit. So that was nice to see. Obviously, he's not worth the money we gave him. No, he's not. But I think, if you can get a wide receiver in here for DJ, he's doing this with Isaiah Hodgins, if you want to consider, and Richie James as his best targets. Imagine now if you get, a good number one receiver. Imagine if.
Ooh. I was going to say, so one name I think the Giants should look for receiver-wise in the draft is Jackson Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State. And everyone's going to be like, oh, but he was injured all year. Well, here's the deal. He could have played in the Peach Bowl, which in my opinion, if he did, Ohio State would have beat Georgia. But I digress. I might be a little biased because I'm a Buckeyes fan too. But he sat out the Peach Bowl because he's prepping for the draft. Like, he had some of the best route running in, like, NCAA. Like, the dude is a speedy, fast receiver. He's going to be hell against corners. Like, that is one receiver I would look at in the draft. I don't know who's going to be a free agent this year, wide receiver-wise, so I can't really name names off the top of my head. But JSN, I think that's the guy New York should get, like, low-key.
Yeah. JSN is definitely, like, my top target. Now, like, let's say we, like, are not in that situation where we can't pick him because, right now – I don't know where we're picking, but it's going to be pretty late in the first round. And then especially if you beat the Eagles too, my gosh, you're going to be picking really late. So unless you're going to basically trade up a few slots, which I don't know why you would really like give up assets at this point just to do that. It doesn't make sense. Now, what I am looking at here, we obviously know how wide receivers, they get disgruntled or just teams don't want to pay them a lot. So there will be disgruntled wide receivers. We know that. This is just the NFL. There's going to be another receiver. I want out. So if you're the Giants, I would take a certain approach here, though. Apparently, DeAndre Hopkins is available. I would steer clear of him, just given his age. And like for the Giants, like he's still good. I know that. But, for this type of Giants team, giving up assets for a guy that, he's going to be aging and stuff, I don't know if the Giants would do that. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, let's say Tom Brady leaves the Bucs, which I think he will. I think we can all – do we all agree on that Tom Brady's leaving the Bucs?
I think so, yes. I think it's going to happen.
Okay, so I think you guys see where I'm going here. I think the Bucs are rebuilding if Brady leaves. I think they're going to fire their coach. Because Todd Bowles, he's not, let's be real here. He's not that good. No, he's not Bruce Arians. He's not. So I would say if Mike Evans is available, if he is, I think it's worth looking at. I think it's worth looking at depending on what it's going to cost. But I think a type of receiver like that, I think that's what the Giants need. They need a big, they need a true number one like that. That's the type of – we can't be playing around with these slot guys, these short – no more of that, please. So I would say either JSN, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, I would steer clear of just given his age and his contract. And you're already going to be trying to re-sign Daniel Jones. Dexter Lawrence is going to get a contract soon. You got all these Saquon. You're going to be paying all these guys, and like DeAndre Hopkins, the money that he's making, But then you look at Mike Evans. all these 1,000 yard. He's never had a season where he hasn't had 1,000 yards, and he stays relatively healthy. So I would have him. So Sam, is there any like wide receiver targets you would say for the Giants?
To be honest, I know I've been banging on about getting wide receivers. I couldn't name like a free agent that springs to mind. Like the amount of times that I know you can't compare Madden to real life at all, but the amount of times I finished the season on Madden and I'm like, well, there's nobody that sticks out to me at the end of this season,
except Odell,
it screams trade, and I think Mike Evans is a good shout, but realistically, I think you've got. I think from a Giants point of view, you're looking at such a young team, and I think I'm torn between whether you go for someone young and continue to build that dynasty, or whether you go for someone older and bring a bit of experience to the team. But you really need to get whether it be a slot receiver or a deep threat. I couldn't name one receiver that springs to mind, because is it as daft as it sounds? You could take anyone at the minute, and it would immediately improve your wide receiver core. I mean, heck, take Kirk Cousins. He's a great wide receiver.
To be honest, I think I don't know if I would do this though, but like there is like Michael Pittman's going to be available. Now he is young. So he's young, but the thing about him, like he had a down year, but you could credit that to basically the Colts, their terrible QB situation. Like I'm like,
oh yeah, no,
like in the whole Jeff Saturday thing, you can credit it to that. So like I don't know, but he is really young, and apparently like they are like kind of like exploring the possibility of trading him. So if, and he's only 25. So I mean, if that's a receiver that's available now, what is it going to take though for Michael Pittman? What are they going to want? And that's going to basically be the deciding factor. If they want a lot here, I don't know. But I think I can see them keeping him though, and because like let's say they draft C.J. Stroud or something, I can see the coach just basically keeping him just to have that weapon there, because you don't want to stunt your QB's development. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do. But yeah, just going on to Sam's point, when I do play Madden franchise, like I know, yeah, it's obviously not the same thing, but there are no wide receivers available in free agency. So that just tells me there's not going to be anybody that's like a true number one that's going to be a significant upgrade. Like Odell, he's not playing this year. You don't know how he's going to look. He hasn't played since last year. So you can't really sign him and be like, oh, number one receiver. No, he's just not. And at this point, maybe could he be a good? I don't even know if I'd say we haven't seen him play in a long time. He was number 2 at the Rams. I don't know. Would he be a 3 now? We don't know how he's going to look. And for the money that he wants, I'm shocked he didn't go to Dallas, but he didn't work out for them. Like he didn't actually do like the physical. He didn't do it. So clearly he is still hurt. So there's not a lot of receiving options available for the Giants. It's just so hard. Like, I think I would go JSN if he is available in the draft, and maybe it's like a few slots. Just do it. Just trade up. As long as you're not giving up. I mean, if it's like a 5th or 6th round pick you need to give up, I would, or a few of those, I would say do it in that case. Just trade up a few slots for him. If not, if a team is looking at let's say a 3rd to move up a few slots, I don't think the Giants, I don't think you can really afford to do that, given the state, because we're still young. We're still rebuilding. That's the thing about the Giants. Like we're talking here, they're facing the Eagles, but we're still a rebuilding team. So, it would have been nice, for AJ Brown to still be on the Titans and we can trade for him. But no, the Eagles basically had to mess things up, and just think, the Eagles did help you guys out by picking Jalen Reagor. You guys definitely dodged I'm sure I know you guys were jumping for joy when that happened. The Minnesota front office was. I saw the video. You guys were like, oh, we got a guy. So, just like that, I feel like JSN, he could be like that next, big wide receiver. So I'm really hoping he's there. But let's say the Giants make the Super Bowl. Or I don't know I don't think we will, but let's say the Giants win the Super Bowl. Chances are I'm probably not going to care. I'm not, because when you win a Super Bowl, I'm not going to throw any shade. If Roderick was here, I would be like, oh, you guys don't know anything about that. I'm not going to say that, but
nice.
Yeah, just given my experience, because I do remember our most recent one. I remember some of it. When you win a Super Bowl, there's nothing that can replace that. And then when you look at the Rams too, I know they sucked this year, but just winning the Super Bowl, that's going to stay in your mind for a long time. And if you can remember it too, Yeah, like that's why I really hope you guys get to like enjoy that like within the next few years. Like as you know, as long as you guys are still alive, and then hopefully the Vikings they'll win a Super Bowl for you guys. So just so you can like experience that, because you're never gonna really forget like a Super Bowl. And me, I have 2 in my lifetime. So like, you know, you're never, you can't really like replace that. Like, let's say you're bad, it's like, so what? The Giants, the first time we beat the Patriots, we made the playoffs, but one of our receivers, Plaxico, he basically shot himself by accident, and then we lost to the Eagles the next year in the playoffs. Anyways, but and then you know the year after with the Giants, when we beat them the second time, we let Washington and RG3, they won a division the year after that. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, you know, but guess what? Giant fans, we're not going to really care. We're not going to really care because you remember winning that Super Bowl. Like with Eagle fans too, you know, for years, they did not win a Super Bowl. We were clowning them, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Eagles have no rings, blah, blah, blah. Then they have a ring. And now they just keep talking about it and talking about it. Like, it's just so annoying. Like, you know, they still talk about it to this day, even though it was a few years ago now. They still talk about it because when you get that ring, that replaces a lot. So, like, I just really hope you guys, like, get to experience that at some point. And, like, hopefully it's not when you guys are, like, really old. Because, like, when you guys are, like, you know, still, like, your age, you know, you're still young. Like, I just hope you guys can, like, experience that. Go out and party, have a parade, you know. Sam, you can, like, fly all the way over here for the parade. you can, you know. So, like, that's why I just want you guys to, like, experience that. Like, it's just really good. So, like I said, if the Giants win the Super Bowl, chances are I'm likely not going to really care, you know, if we don't get a receiver. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to be mad at the Giants for probably, like, the next – let's say 3 years. Like I'm not going to be mad. I'm, you know, you can't. It's just it just depends what happens after. Like you're in your situation, you know, the NFC Championship against the Eagles. You know, I was rooting for you guys too. Like I really, you know, because obviously I'm a Giants fan. I don't want to see the Eagles make the Super Bowl and the Eagles versus the Patriots. Like, come on, guys. You guys like really screwed us, you know, NFC East fans over there because we couldn't root for anybody because, you know, like I know we beat the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl. We do own those guys, but like we still hate them just given like the amount of smack talk that we've, you know, had to endure from them before those games and stuff like that. We still hate them. New York, we hate Boston sports. I'm a Yankee fan. I hate the Red Sox. I hate the Red Sox. I hate them. Like you know, we hate Boston over here. We just hate them. So, you know, but like I said, just going back onto the whole entire Super Bowl point, not even a Super Bowl. When you win a championship, period, like, you know, that's just like Weston, like, do you follow baseball?
No, not really. I only follow football, basketball, and hockey.
Okay, so like, what's your favorite basketball team?
So I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan.
Trailblazers fan. Okay, so like, see, like, you know, if you guys like an NBA championship though doesn't taste as good as a Super Bowl or like a World Series baseball case. Like I would say that because like the NBA, it's like with the NFL and probably, you know, the MLB too, there's a lot of parity. Like Sam, like have your soccer teams, like have you, you know, like won championships and stuff?
Historically, yeah. The last trophy we won was not even a trophy. So, but historically, yeah. I mean, obviously it probably won't mean anything to you guys, but in 1982 we won something called the Champions League, which is like the trophy across all of Europe, and that we still talk about that as Villa fans. You know, it's, you know, it's one of our most famous chants as a football club or as a soccer club, whatever you want to call it. But you know, I can attest, you know, winning something as big as obviously I was not alive in 1982, but I can still talk and say, you know, Aston Villa, my football soccer team have won the Champions League, and it's a shame that it hasn't happened this year. But as I said earlier, you know, change the schemes, and that team can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and like, you know, I just like you know, yeah, historically, you know, your team has won a championship, but you experiencing it for yourself, that just changes everything. Like, you know, Have the Trailblazers, have they won an NBA championship?
It was either 76 or 77.
Yeah,
It was with Bill Walton back when the franchise like first started.
Yeah, so like, see, like, and obviously none of us were alive then. Like, so like,
Yeah.
it's like, sure, that's nice and all. Like, like me, even with the Yankees, this is baseball. I know, like, you guys don't really follow it as much, but everyone knows the Yankees. You see, anywhere you go, you're probably going to see that, that Yankee hat. So, yeah, exactly. So, like me, we haven't won a championship since 2009. I am annoyed because I don't remember that too much. I don't. And like, what I want to see it like in, my current age, I want to see it then, because when you go to school and, if you like, let's say you go to work, or if you're hanging out with friends and stuff that are fans of other teams, you have that, and you have that over them. Like, it's just something else. So my wish for you guys is to not win a Super Bowl within probably the next year. I don't want you guys to win. I don't want you guys to win the next year after that. But once like me and Roderick are like, I don't have to like deal with him as much. That's when I'll start like being like, okay, I can finally like be chill about the Vikings again. Right now, I don't, like, just because of like Roderick makes it so hard for me to root for you guys. I'm sorry, but like, he's just like, the story spams and everything. Like, but like, he's a super fan. Like, that's okay.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I've had teams ruined for me because of other people. Like, my best friend back in high school, diehard Cincinnati Bengals fan, and he kind of made me root against the Bengals a few times, and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, New Orleans Saints fans, just because they're Saints fans and whatever. So yeah, I do get what you're saying, but no, if the Vikings do end up winning it, and you have to deal with Roderick, like, it'll only be for a little bit, and then you can move on with your life. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if it'll be for a little bit with Roderick. Roderick will bring it up for like literally, basically the rest of his life. But that's just what I mean though. If you like win it, you're going to be talking about it forever. You're going to be able to tell your kid. Like my dad, he saw a lot of the Yankees, because the Yankees, they have 27 championships. He saw a lot of them. He's like, hey, son, I've seen the Yankees go to like at least 11 World Series. Like, and I'm like, okay, Dad, okay. Like, and you just keep talking about it. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I saw the Giants when we beat the Broncos. Oh, yeah, I saw them when we beat the Bills. Wide right, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Dad, okay, like, I get it. Like, you don't have to keep doing this to me. Like, obviously the last two I was around. But, like, it's like, when you have it for yourself, you get to talk about it with your kids. You just relive it. Like Sam, you've heard about it. I'm sure you've seen the highlights. You've seen everything. Like, but you haven't like seen it live in that year. So like, that's why I'm just hoping you guys do eventually win a Super Bowl. I will be rooting for you guys as long as it's not in the 2-year time gap. I will be rooting for you guys. As long as the Giants, aren't in, I will root for you. You guys are a pretty likable team. I would say. Take all my personal biases aside. I think you guys are a pretty likable team. I definitely like Justin Jefferson. If Roderick wasn't so obnoxious, I would probably have a Justin Jefferson jersey. Because I collect jerseys. Like, I have like a lot of jerseys. I would like a Justin Jefferson jersey, me personally. So hopefully he stays on team, though. We saw it happen with Stephon Diggs. But, like I said, so before we end this, do you guys have any more points you want to go off of?
I just got one more thing that I have not gone over yet. So it kind of was an inspiration from Purple FTW, like Sam was mentioning earlier. Was this season a failure for Minnesota? So last year, the team went 8-9, and then this season went 13-4. A 5-game improvement, completely under a new resume. Last year, it was under Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, head coach GM-wise. The whole regime is gone. Now we got KOC and Quincy Mesa-Adolfo. And keep on, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year. Like, a lot of Vikings fans and a lot of fans in general didn't have this team. I mean, I had this team making the playoffs, but as like a wild card seed. Like, this team won the North in the first year under a new regime. Yes, the games may not have been impressive, but you don't win games by accident. Like, under a new regime, you won 13 games. You were divisional champions. Yes, the season didn't end the way you wanted it to, but like, and like, we got to look ahead. The Packers, they're probably going to be on a downward spiral. Aaron Rodgers has probably played his last game as a Packer. The Bears, they're not ready. They still need a lot of pieces. They're in a rebuilding phase. The only team we got to be scared of is the Detroit Lions. And even then, I think they might be losing their offensive coordinator. So will they be as dominant as next year? Will they actually address the defense? Only time will tell. So those are the pros. The cons, though, the defense actually got worse than last year. Like Sam said, the defense was ranked 31st this year. Last year, it was ranked 30th. And here's some statistics from this year. They led up 388.7 yards per game and allowed 25.1 points per game. The fact that you had all of that and nothing was changed up, well. And, of course, the veteran player departures, I already went through that. And the last fact, the fact that Ed hasn't gotten fired yet. But maybe, I mean, I will say it took the Titans a few days to finally fire Todd Downing. I know a Titans fan on Instagram, and the second that guy got fired, oh my goodness, you would have thought the Titans won the Super Bowl. But can I blame him? No, because Downing was terrible. And if that does happen, I do got some possible candidates. Like I said on the last chat, Vic Fangio, no one still has him. He's available. Brian Flores might be a reach, but he's still an option. Raheem Morris from the LA Rams, he's probably going to be gone. Jim Schwartz might be leaving Tennessee. I mean, you saw what he did with the Eagles defense the year they won the Super Bowl. I would take him. And the last one, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly. It's Ehiro Evero, the Broncos defensive coordinator. Like, that guy has run a top 5 defense. One of the best defenses I think we've seen in quite some time. You just don't hear about it because of the offensive ineptitude that Denver had. But
let's ride.
Yeah, let's ride. So, yeah, was this season a failure? No, it wasn't. There were a lot of positives that shouldn't have been there, but they were there. And this is a good building step. So that is my final thing that I got on the notes here.
So, Sam, I'm sure you probably most likely agree. So, like, do you feel like this season is a failure for the Vikings?
No, I think anyone that thinks this season is a failure just doesn't watch football. Just like I'd say anyone that thinks that loss is on Kirk Cousins doesn't watch football. I think it's given so many learning opportunities, so many, not only for the players, but for the coaching staff as well. And I would really like to see Flores as the DC at the Vikings. I think that would be such a good hire. And just as a final thing, I know you said you don't want us to win the Super Bowl in the next few years, but I would love to see Kirk Cousins get a Super Bowl. It would just, honestly, that would make my life. Nothing more in my life could happen that would make me happier than Kirk Cousins winning the Super Bowl, man. It would be brilliant.
I mean, I would be happy for you guys. And it also depends who you go against. If you guys were to beat like a team that I don't like let's say the Patriots or even the Chiefs, I've kind of gotten tired of them.
Yeah, same.
I got Chiefs fatigue, to be honest, with the whole Patrick. So I like Patrick Mahomes, but I like the Chiefs. I'm just kind of tired of all the bandwagon Chiefs fans nowadays. Yeah. So I would say even like if you guys beat the Chiefs, I'd root for you. Like there's like a few teams in the AFC, I probably would still be happy for you guys, even if like it was in this current time frame. And I would say Jeff Hostetler, won a Super Bowl. So I mean, Kirk Cousins can. Jeff Hostetler, obviously Giants backup QB, won the Super Bowl. So I mean, you really never know. And Matthew Stafford won it last year, but that was different.
Flacco.
Yeah, Flacco. Don't even look at where he is now. The dude is just like a punching bag. So like literally, he's just like a body you just throw out there if you're tanking. You just go, or unless you're the Jets who don't tank, but. You also, you lose let's say how many straight games did the Jets lose?
They started out 7-4, so they lost 5 straight games to end the year.
But we see who the better team in the tri-state area is. So just quickly before I end this, I would say Brian Flores would be a good candidate, but he's very sought after. I think it's pretty obvious now there. And apparently he's the lead to or one of the co-leads to get that Arizona job. So it is going to be like very tough for the Vikings to get him as a defensive coordinator. But like I think, if you guys can offer him the most amount of money, and if he doesn't get that Cardinals head coaching job, I think he will go to the Vikings. They're a good team. I don't see why he wouldn't. It's a good winning situation. As opposed to like some of these other teams, like let's just like the Falcons are apparently like, I don't know if I'd really go to the Falcons. The Vikings, you guys are solid. You have a good future ahead of you for like the next few years. But real quick, also because I know Sam with Kirk Cousins thing. When do you guys think you start looking for the franchise QB? Because I know, and there's going to be in a few years, Kirk Cousins is getting older. I think that's just the elephant in the room here. And he's not like that. He's not like a Tom Brady where he's going to sustain like this, all-time greatness. Like there's going to come a time where you're probably going to have to draft a QB. You can keep him like under Kirk. But like, which year do you guys see, possibly getting maybe a younger QB in here, a first rounder too?
So, I actually got a bold prediction for the draft. It's not going to be the first round, but I think maybe between rounds 2 and 5, I think Minnesota might draft a QB in those rounds. And keep in mind, the answer to that question already happened like a few years ago. It's just the QB they picked just wasn't really the answer. Because keep in mind, they assessed that question when drafting Kellen Mond in the second or third round during the 2021 draft. But of course, Mond didn't really pan out. He wasn't going to work in KOC's system. So that's the reason why they ultimately got rid of him. One thing that Mike Zimmer was right about, it still makes me salty to this day, I admit that. But yeah, I digress. I think this year, no, of course, have the QB, build under Kirk. But I think they should look for a backup QB this year. Because are we going to put the franchise in Nick Mullins' hands when Kirk leaves at some point? No, Mullins is just a backup QB at best. Yes, we have thrived under backup QBs before, but I don't think anything's going to be as special as Case Keenum ever again. Case Keenum was a magical season, magical. And of course, we're not going to get that Gus Frerotte to fill in the void because Tavares Jackson was terrible. I mean, rest in peace, Tavares Jackson. Of course, he died in that car crash a couple years ago, but he was not the greatest QB. No, he wasn't. So I think you should find a QB, of course, in the 2nd to 5th round this year. But that's my take on the quarterback.
All right, Sam. I know this is a very tough topic for you, so
Honestly, I don't know what I'd do when Kirk Cousins leaves the Vikings, man. My life will just be over. But genuinely, I think we've got another 3 years of Kirk Cousins. I think the next 2 years he's definitely our starting quarterback, but I think the 3rd year we'll start to phase in. Yeah, whether we draft a rookie QB in 2 years' time and let him sit behind Kirk in 3 years' time and start to phase him in mid-season or whatever. But I think we have got at least another 3 years of Kirk Cousins before he retires as a Viking. I don't think he's going anywhere else. I think he will be a Viking for the rest of his career. But 2 years at minimum with him as our starting quarterback is my hopeful take, and I think that's what will happen because, as I said earlier, Kwesi is a statistical GM, and the statistics are in Kirk Cousins' favour. And I also think that there's all this talk about his contract when he first signed, but if you compare his contract now to some of the other quarterback contracts, Russell Wilson's the one that springs to mind. I know you can argue about Nathaniel Hackett this, Nathaniel Hackett that, but it's looking like a poor trade so far. And I think he'll take a cut when it comes to re-signing him, because I think it's pretty obvious he's a family man, and I can't see him taking his family away from Minnesota for a good few years. But when it does come for him to leave, I think he will be, a coach with the Vikings at some point. But we just have to wait and see for when that day comes, and hope that it comes not soon for my for my life.
I just also wanted to bring up, so Kirk Cousins will be 35 to start next season. So I definitely think you will get obviously 1 year, maybe two. I think you'll get 2, because then, looking at 36. But I think it's going to be after that year where you're going to have to basically look at things. I think the Vikings will make the playoffs next year, just given the state of the division. I think you guys will. The team you are going to have to look out for is the Lions. Can they win the division? I mean, they're still the Lions, but I think they can make. I think I wouldn't be. I would be shocked if the Lions aren't in the playoffs next year, just given the way they developed. And I think they will do what they need to do, to address the defense. And that Rams trade is going to really help them in doing so. So that they'll be good. So that's going to be the team you have to worry about. Bears are not ready. They're not going to be ready for the next few years. The Packers, they're going down. Like Rodgers, I don't think he's coming back. And then, they got a bunch of older guys on the team. I don't think you have to worry about the Packers for the next few years. I think that's going to be over with for a little while. Now, I would say definitely after that second year, I think you got to start looking. And it depends. After next year, I don't know the state of the QB class next year. And the Vikings would need to be really bad for them to even be in that position. I don't think you will be, though. So I don't think, obviously not next year. Now it's going to be the year after. That's when you're going to have to look at things, and you're going to have to be okay, what are we doing here? Or and it depends how you guys, let's say you have another first round exit. I'm not saying it will happen, but let's say you do. You're going to, there's going to be some fans like Sam, you guys have seen, blaming things on Kirk Cousins. Eventually, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to get younger, and you're going to have a guy that's going to have to, and he doesn't have to come in and immediately start. But if they are in a position where, let's say the Vikings are they get kind of mid, they have a year like they had last season, a 7, let's say they go 7-10 somehow the year after. I mean, which I'd be shocked, but you never know. I think that's when you maybe, if there's a QB available and you want him to maybe be under Kirk for a few years, which I think is good, because you don't want to throw a QB straight into the fire. We saw that with Zach Wilson, and gosh, you don't want him to end up like that. So I think having even a full year, just benched, and look at I know this is a rare scenario here, but Patrick Mahomes sat for basically the entire year under Alex Smith. And so I just wanted to bring that up, in which, just getting that experience. And Kirk Cousins, he's not a scrub. He's a solid QB. You can learn under him. So, just getting that full year of just sitting and learning, I think that's good. And that's what I would do personally. So after that second year, if you are in a position and there's a QB available that you think you need to be okay, let's start planning for the future, I would draft that guy. Now, I don't see the Vikings really making a trade. I don't see, there's no QB upgrades available. There's not going to be a few for next few years, because we see these QBs getting locked up and stuff. All these, the Justin Herbert's going to get a new contract soon, I'm sure. All these QBs, they're getting locked up. So you see these very middle tier quarterbacks become available, and Kirk Cousins, those QBs are not an upgrade over Kirk Cousins. You're either regressing or staying where you're at. So I think it just makes perfect sense that they'll draft the QB within the next few years. That'll be the most disappointing day of Sam's life. And, I think we'll see who comes out. We'll see who comes out, but I don't think they should reach for a QB either. I don't think they should if they're in, a certain, because you guys are going to be in win now mode for the next few years. I think that's pretty obvious, with the amount of talent you have, unless, but there will be some retooling need to be done on the defense. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and then get the cap situation, all sorted out. But there have been some people, just to pose a question here before we end this, there has been some people saying that Minnesota will regress next year. I'm not one of them. But there's a lot of experts, and I'm watching the talk shows and stuff. Colin Cowherd, his hot take is the Vikings are not making the playoffs next year. So how do you guys feel about that disrespect?
I mean, Go on, Weston. You can.
Okay.
You can get the ball
As
rolling.
long as I've been a Vikings fan, when hasn't the media disrespected the Minnesota Vikings? Like, heck, when the Vikings, I think, were like 5-1, Stephen A. Smith was like, "Yeah, I'm still taking Aaron Rodgers to win the division. You know why? It's Aaron Rodgers. It's the Green Bay Packers. You can't sleep on the Green Bay Packers. It's Aaron
That's a
Rodgers."
bad man. That's a bad man.
I'm like, dude, Stephen A., just go back to Brooklyn and watch Brooklyn Nets games with your shocked look face when KD's toes on the 3-point line. You don't know football. Stop talking, okay? Every time the Vikings have success, the media likes to downplay it. Like, oh, they've been downplaying majority of this year. I mean, was some of it deserved? I mean, sure, I guess. I mean, like I said, you weren't going to win with that defense, but still, it's like, how come Minnesota gets no love when things go their way? Like, I've been asking myself this since I was in, like, elementary school, middle school, of course. Like, Adrian Peterson, had an MVP year in 2012, and you know what? They were like, oh, Adrian Peterson doesn't deserve this. I'm like, dude, he carried an offense with Christian Ponder, and their best wide receiver was Jarius Wright. Like, why aren't you giving him his credit? Like, if he was on, a Dallas Cowboys jersey, Adrian Peterson's the best running back of all time. Like, I think the media needs to stop, blowing off all the franchises like Green Bay and Dallas. Like, admit Tony Romo's not that good. If Tony Romo was in a Vikings jersey, he'd be probably labeled as one of the most overrated quarterbacks of all time. But because he's on Dallas, he's top 10 of all time, which is bogus. But
wait. People say Tony Romo's a top 10 quarterback.
You'd be surprised. You would be surprised. Because they're like, if you look at the stats, he's top 10 of all time. I'm like, you need to stop. You need to stop it right now.
If you see how that guy has played in big games, it's pretty obvious he's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially against us in a few big games, he disappeared. I can name a few. The one when they were at home, the first time we beat them, to go on to beat the Patriots. We beat them. We went into Dallas, beat them in a big spot. The year when we were playing them for the division, the Giants. We were playing them, and then so basically. That was the year we beat the Patriots again. We were playing them. Tony Romo, he disappeared in that game. Like, they were not the Cowboys. Like, they showed up in the second half, kind of, sort of, but we shut the door on them pretty easily, in the third quarter. So Tony Romo, whoever's saying that, I think they need to get their head examined.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, that's my take on the media. It's a lot of hate. I'm used to it. They never give us respect, which, hey, I'll keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep me fueled. Please, why don't you?
All right. So, Sam, what's your take on the media? And then we're going to end this.
I mean, I can't really say any more than what Weston said, because all season long, they've said that, we're frauds. And, yeah, we didn't get as far as we wanted, but you don't get to 13-4 by being frauds, do you, And, yeah, we probably won't get 13 wins, but the team can only, get better, on the other side of the ball. Look, there's only few people in the media that like the Vikings, and Carl Brandt's one that springs to mind. He's like the only person that I can think that, has ever had a good word to say about the Vikings. So, look, the day that the media decide to like us is probably the day that we've won back-to-back Super Bowls, because that ain't happening anytime soon.
All right. So this is a very, very long, if you take into account part one and part two, this was a very, very long discussion, but it was very enjoyable. I am looking forward to having you guys back on. Because Roderick is a Vikings fan, I know this is Planet of NY Sports, but because you guys have been so good, I have decided that we will do a Vikings kind of, like a mini off-season series eventually. And if there's any big news about the Vikings in the next few months, we can come on and talk about it. I'll send you guys a link. You got it. So if you all can just do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in